licenses and professionalizing a little bit more tonight. So my name is Susie Langston. I need to start sharing my screen, don't I? Let me see if I can get that accomplished. All right. My computer's being wonky again tonight. I get a new one Tuesday. Hi. How is everyone? There, can you see that now? Okay, very good. Very good. I spoke with my director last night, and she indicated that it's a good possibility that the lines on our licensing process document that we just created might not show up. So I'll need a little bit of feedback from you guys when I show this. So this is my contact information, and we're going to start first off, I think, with the licensing process. And what I mean by that, and let me see if I can minimize everyone's pictures. Well, I'd like to see you. I really squirrel out easily, so anything that I see move, I'll look, look at. So I tried to create a document for everyone to kind of give an idea of what type of license you may have and licenses that are available, and then what your next step would be. So this document kind of leads us through this. Let me ask real quick, how many do we have? Do you have a 2, a 10, or a 5-year license? If you would want to hold up your hand, give me a 2, give me a 5-year license. Does anyone have a 10-year license? Does anyone 5? Okay. Anyone else want to share? I've got some comments coming in up here, don't I? 10, very good. Okay, so you have the accomplished practitioner. And anyone else want to share? So the initial practitioner license would be for your first year teachers. Since you two are pretty much, and Angela, you have a 5 or a 10? 5? I think Angela has a 5-year license. This is going to be for those first year teachers, the initial practitioner license. And they start with the 2-year license. And once they obtain 2 or more years of experience, this is an arrow that shows over to complete IMAP. Or to complete a 40-point professional growth plan, and then they complete the conversion application to get that 5-year license. Since I don't have any of you with that right now, I'm just going to kind of briefly discuss it. The IP licenses can be renewed 2 times, and then they have to do a 90-point professional growth plan. Each time they renew, they only need a CPR card to renew that. So we'll just skip over to the practitioner and accomplished practitioner. So the practitioner license is, is the 5-year license. And in order to obtain a professional license, the accomplished practitioner, you have to either do the master's degree and obtain that, or national board certification. And if you do not have that, then the only option for you is to renew your 5-year license. And those licenses can be renewed with 6 hours of coursework, 90 professional growth plan points, a valid national board certification, or a valid Indiana Professional Licensing Agency license. And that's typically for school services, licenses, your school counselors and school social workers will utilize that. So as long as you only have a bachelor's degree, this is the license as far as you can climb, or if you don't have the national board certification. The accomplished practitioner is a 10-year license, and the renewal options for that are 6 hours of coursework, the 90-point professional growth plan, the national board certification. You complete the renewal application, and you continue with a 10-year license. At one point in the Department of Education, we went from a 10-year license and then back to a 5-year license, and then you could professionalize again. We no longer do that. Once you obtain that 10-year license, you will renew for a 10-year license from this time forward. I'll talk a little bit more about your professional growth plans when I discuss LVIS and some of the renewal processes that you utilize in LVIS. So that is our licensing processes. Are there any questions about the processes towards certification? And feel free, we're going to go ahead and I'll take questions throughout. So if I'm speaking and you need to ask me a question, I'll be happy to stop and take a minute to ask. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Emma asks, how do you get national board certification?
National board certification can be found on our website. So the two websites that I'm going to share with you tonight are the Indiana Department of Education website, which is what we're looking at now, which is just doe.in.gov/licensing. And then I'll also be sharing with you the LVIS webpage, which is license.doe.in.gov. So those are the two options. Sorry, my cat is outside my door meowing at me to come in. Oh, the joys of teleworking. For educator effect or licensing, if you are an Indiana teacher, there are 4 boxes here that will help you lead you to the correct path to obtain the renewal questions that you might have, any content area questions, professionalizing and renewing. And then also down here, and I believe on the ISTA website, on the ISTA website, there are also there's also information regarding national board certification. So if you click on the national board certification certified teachers, that will take you to their website. There is lots of information and lots of work that's done with this, and it will lead to obtaining a professional license. I believe if you have questions, Angela Miller has information on that as well.
That's correct. We have another question. My
Okay.
10-year license expires this coming June. Did you say that when I renew that it will be 10 years again?
It will be. Yes, it will be. If you had a 10-year license, it will reflect back to a 10-year license. My website just completely crashed on me. My apologies. If you have a 10-year license, it will go back to a 10-year license and continue as a 10-year license. The problem that you're going to have is when you go to submit your professional growth plan, and I will talk about that here in just a second. There's a couple of things that I would like to bring to your attention. Remind me when you get to your 10-year license, when we get to LVIS and we talk about the professional growth plans, to remind you on submitting that professional growth plan in the last 5 years of your 10-year license. A couple of things that I'd like to point out on our website is the boxes that are colored when you come to our website are typically have important information. Currently, the 2-year license holders that are going to be renewing their license with IMAP, they have until October 31st to register, and they register for that here on our website. There's information in the box above regarding the CPR card and the governor's executive orders. The governor allowed us to allowed folks applying for original licenses to say they would upload a promissory note to complete the CPR training by September 1st. The problem is September 1st has come, or September 30th. That is now expired, and all applications are required to have the valid CPR card completed with a hands-on component in front of an instructor. We cannot take, and have not been able to take, even the governor's executive orders did not allow us to accept an online only CPR training. The American Red Cross and American Heart Association have blended courses, as well as other CPR providers. I believe Medic First Aid may, and Pro Trainings does have an online component with a hands-on training. It cannot be, again, a full online CPR course. Other information that's on our website, we will be we will be changing to a new testing provider, and that will be coming up in fall of 2021. So information regarding that will be posted here on our website. And then the PGP requirement that we had last year for the 15-point career awareness is no longer required. I see a question.
Yes, this is from Marcia. If I had CPR training last year and my license expires in June 2021, will this still be good, or will I have to go through the training again?
Typically, CPR cards are valid for 2 years. So look at your card and see when it expires. If it expires before you're ready to apply, you might want to go ahead and apply early and get that done before that card expires, or go and get that CPR card renewed. If your license is valid on the day that you apply, and applications are completely separate from the PGP points. So if your card is valid on the day that you submit your payment, then we will consider it valid for that license renewal. It does not have to be valid for you to be in the classroom for you to obtain. It's just valid to get your teaching license. Now, the school corporation may have different requirements for you to be CPR trained, but that would be up to the corporation, not for your certification. Okay. Our licensing website, as well as LVIS, are pretty much set up identically, where there are boxes for you to click here in the center that will kind of lead you down a path to renew your license or add a content area. All of that is within these boxes here in the middle. If you are an Indiana teacher, with all of you are, you'll click I am in Indiana. And once you do that, then you'll see that there are several options. You can renew a license, add content areas, professionalize and renew. And we will be working, and we are constantly working during our slow season to make sure that our website is up to date, see if there's anything we can do to tweak it, to make it better for our constituents, and make it easier to understand and work through. Our website will have information for you to to do the processes that you need to do. LVIS, the licensing portal, will have information for you, and that's where you're going to add all of your information. That's where you're going to do the applications. And we'll look at LVIS here in a minute. Over on the right-hand side on any of our pages, our links show up that might be helpful. We have the assignment code, so if you want to know what you can teach with your license, that's available. CPR training, suicide prevention training if you ever apply for an original license. There are PD growth plan links, so if you want to get some professional development, there are some options here. I also know that the ISTA website has some options for professional development if you need some. There's an educator testing page that will be updated as we get information, and there's an educator license lookup. So that information is all available for you if you need it. Now, let me get to LVIS and show you a little regarding LVIS. So this is the login screen for LVIS, and one thing that I'd like to point out to you is our application processing status. Currently, we are working on out-of-state individuals for September 14th. That's part of my responsibilities at the department. I've been with the department for over 25 years and back in licensing for 8, and have been working on out-of-state originals as well as any of the alternative licensure paths, transition to teaching permits, charter school licenses, advanced degree certification. So those are all some of the things that I do. All of the renewals, the conversions, that's going from a 2-year license to a 5-year license, and professionalization, we are currently up to date. So I'm going to go ahead and log into LVIS. I'm guessing, have all of you created a profile? Has anyone not created a profile? Let's start there. And if you all have, then I'm going to go ahead and log in. This is my LVIS account, and when you submit your professional growth plan, this is what the page would look like for your principal or your superintendent. Your professional growth plans would submit into their work queue. Typically, when you all log in, you see a screen like this. And this screen has the green and red boxes. I am in Indiana, or I want to be in Indiana, very similar to the boxes on our website. So we tried to make them somewhat similar. The things that I want to make sure that you all realize and that you all double check is that you check your profile links. It is very pertinent that you have a working email in your LVIS account. That's how we communicate. So all of our emails come either from us through LVIS or will come from system administrator. The system administrator emails sometimes tend to get lost in your junk or spam. So that's definitely something to check. So if you click edit profile, you'll be able to see your email address listed, and there is a secondary email, although I've heard recently that that has quit firing emails for some reason. So your SPN is in there, your academic degree and information would be in there, and then if you do have some roles, those are also listed. So make sure that that's there, and your phone number is also helpful. I've been known to pick up the phone and call to help people walk through some of that process, and maybe it's something that they're having difficulty with. You can request a degree change. A degree change can happen when you apply for a license. So if you have a 5-year license, you get your master's degree and apply to renew that or professionalize that, you can do a degree change at that particular time. It doesn't cost you anything to do it during an application. If you're going to do it midstream, you got your master's degree, you've had it for 2 years, you've got 2 more years on your license, you can go ahead and pay for a degree change. And the other thing that's on the right-hand side, I see a question. Go ahead.
Yes. If I got married, am I able to just change that information?
Yeah, I'm just getting ready to hit that. So down here on the bottom is a name change request. So you just click that. You'll type in your new name, the date that it was affected. The only document that you'll need to upload is a divorce decree, driver's license, a legal name change affidavit, or a state-issued marriage license. You'll fill that in. You'll select the one you're going to use, upload the document. Oops, sorry, I really didn't mean to do that. And then type in, it may require you to type in a note, just indicate that your name has changed, you got married or divorced or whatever the case may be. Once you do all of that, the submit request button down here at the bottom will highlight. As long as something is missing, that button won't submit. So if you've chosen the file, you've selected the document and it still won't light up, make sure that you've typed something in the notes and everything is filled out up here. So those are things that are important in LVIS for you to double check. So now I'm going to come up to the top under the My Application aspect, and I'm going to talk a couple of things for you. The email log is a log that of every email that you've ever been sent. So if you aren't certain if you're receiving emails, you can definitely go to the email log. You can click the plus sign and it will tell you that you have a professional growth plan that's been verified. That happened to me today because I verified it, so I would be able to complete an application with you. Other things that are on here that need to be discussed are view documents. We now have the ability to file documents for you. So when you submit your CPR card, your suicide prevention training, we could even do transcripts. Sometimes you may want your transcripts, you don't have a copy of them or you want to print them out or something. We could actually file those for you to access in your LVIS account. I have had a test for upload document filed, and then my CPR card, which has an expiration date of 10/2/2020, which is going to expire tomorrow. So if I complete my application and get it submitted tonight and pay for it, then it's going to be valid through the entire and they'll be able to process my license because it was valid on the date that I submitted the payment. View and print licenses. You can click on that and you can print any license that you may hold. The PDF is it's the best quality and the best way to print out your license. If you just want to view what's on it, the view would would work. Test scores, you can click that. And then if you want to have applications that are pending, you can check that. And then application status is how to get back to applications once you start them. Currently, I have one in process. I have one that is closed, and then several that are approved. And then there's a status that tells you what the status is. You do not have to start an application to work with a professional growth plan. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Applications are completely separate from professional growth plans. And there are several different professional growth plans for you to choose from, depending upon the type of license that you hold. So the type of licenses that are held with all of you would be a conversion, a renewal, or the 5-year initial practitioner cycle reset. That's a 2-year license. So from what you all have told me, basically the conversion to a 5-year license, or actually the renewal of a 5 or a 10-year license. So that's what a majority of you are going to create and work through. So you select the renewal of a 5 or a 10-year license and click Create New PGP. And so tonight we're starting a professional growth plan. And I'm going to go through a little bit on how to enter documents into here. I'm going to show you how to enter the different options to obtain in professional growth plan points. So when you hit the drop-down category and you want to have documents scanned if your principal and or superintendent, so when you submit the PGP, you select the school where you're working. Some school corporations I've found the superintendent the superintendent does the approvals of the PGP and it doesn't get submitted to the principal. But the superintendent has a know-all, see-all. So you can submit it to the principal and that person will be able to approve it. Ask that person before you fill any of this information in, whether or not they want to see the documents in LVIS, if they want you to email the documents to them, or if you're in the school building, you can hand deliver them. The hand delivery, I'm not certain about right now with COVID, so it's best that you check before you start to enter your documents, because once you enter something into LVIS in your professional growth plan, the only thing that you can do is remove it. So some options that we have are in-services, conferences, workshops, mentoring a new educator. That one would be up to your principal and you to determine how many hours you can utilize for that. Cooperating teacher for a student teacher, that's a 30-point automatic. There's no changing that number. The Department of Education has indicated that that's the amount of time that you're going to get. I'm going to go ahead and select a date that I had my student teacher. I'm going to type in test, and you have to type in, anytime there's a red star on LVIS, you have to type something in there, and then I'm going to hit save. So my cooperating teacher information is in there. We're going to look too at the cooperating teacher for an undergrad or a field experience student. That's 15 hours. So that's the other one that is set as far as the numbers. And then the final one that's set for numbers is college credit. So for every college credit hour that you complete, you get 15 points for every credit hour. So a 3-hour credit course will give you 45 points. So if you do a blended professional growth plan, that means that you have got to enter all of the information into a PGP. If you select college credit and do all 6 hours at an Indiana college or university, when you complete your application, you don't have to do a professional growth plan, because when you complete your application, it's going to route to the school corporation or the university for approval, and our office won't see that. But if you do a professional development, if you do a blended professional development with coursework and PGP points, you'll do all of that in LVIS and then submit it to your school for approval. So currently we have 75 points of 90 in this PGP. So in order to be able to submit it, we have to have 90 points. So I'm going to go ahead and type in an in-service. We'll select that date. I'm going to add 40 more points. We're going to do a test. So before I submit this, I also want you to know that anytime that you go out of the professional growth plan and you come back into the professional growth plan, you're going to edit and the information that you've put in. This is a workable document. So if I go ahead and pop out of here, I have 2 PGPs now because I didn't have the one just a second ago. This one has been approved, and the only thing you can do with an approved one is view it. But I can come back into this and my information is still there. I didn't save that other in-service, so it's not there anymore. And we're just doing a quick save. Once you get all 90 points, 90 or above is what you have to have. Once you get all of that, then down below where we're clicking the save button, the submit the PGP for verification pops up. Now, if you're employed at a school, then you'll click employed at an Indiana school. Hit the drop down arrow and the schools pop up. So let's say you're teaching at Terre Haute Montessori School. Then you would be able to select the Terre Haute Montessori School. So I just hit T to go there. If you hit an S, that'll take you to the S's. So you can hit the first couple of letters and it'll take you to your school and you'll be able to find that. Okay. Any questions so far about professional growth plans?
I have a question.
Sure.
For anyone who has participated in the fairness content review, for whether it be IN or iLearn, what do you recommend, what category that goes under? I've had several teachers ask me and
we have an other.
Okay.
That might be curriculum development, a program or committee.
That's why I was asking you. I went back and forth.
It really, if your teachers are asking you, then you can select and just tell them to put it under other. I don't know specifically that the type of category that they select, other than when it comes to the cooperating teacher or the college credit, if it's really pertinent that it falls under the correct category, as long as the description of activity describes what they did and that can be paired up with the document that they upload. So, so that you can see the document, that certificate tells you what it is, and then you can determine how many hours it was and verify that. That's basically what we look for. I don't even know when Jessica in our office, I don't know that the category populates for her to see. It might, but there's no wrong or right category as long as you're putting the information in there as closely as you can to the correct one. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So once you get that done, and I'm going to select XYZ Corporation because I'm the principal. Principals tend to submit theirs to the XYZ. If you select other, that comes to our office. That comes to the Department of Education. So I'll send that to Jessica and let her approve it. By submitting your professional growth plan, you're confirming that you've completed the 90 hours. You will no longer be able to edit once you submit it. So we submit the professional growth plan, and now it's at IDOE for review. That's the status that we have here. And we can go back in and look at it, but there's nothing else that we can do with it. Okay. Those of you that have the 10-year licenses, you'll collect 90 points probably within the first couple of years. You don't have to continue to add information to your PGP. You can most definitely stop at 90 and get ready to submit it. Someone's reminding me to talk about the 10-year license, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So professional growth plans, once approved, and this one's been approved, are valid for 5 years. I submitted it last night. It got approved. So it was the date that it was approved. You have 5 years from that date to utilize it to renew your license. So those of you that have 10-year licenses, you can collect your information. you can enter it into your PGP and let it sit. And then at the last 5 years of that professional growth plan, submit it for approval. Don't submit it during the first 5, even if you get the 90 points. Wait until the latter 5 of your license and then submit it. The PGP can be used for instructional licenses. It can be used for administrative licenses, and it can be used for school services licenses. And some of you that are under Rules 4647 and even Bulletin 400 and possibly Rules 2002 may have 2 different licenses, meaning if you did an elementary program and a special ed program, you might have 2 licenses. We at the department can combine those into one, so you can then renew 1 license from here on out, but it does take an effort for us to do that. So contact me if you wish to have that done, and I'll certainly try to bring the 2 together and let you know which license number you have to select from here on out. But if you choose to do 2 applications and pay $36.72, which is how much it costs to renew a license or obtain an original license, you certainly can pay that twice if you prefer. Most people don't. Any questions?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
If they have 2 licenses and one has expired, is it possible to get it renewed when renewing current license?
Okay. So is it an admin and instructional, or is it just 2 instructional?
Admin and instruction.
Okay. So first off, Indiana has no penalties for a license expiring. If you get an Indiana license and it expires and 5 years from now you decide you want to come back and renew your license, you just have to meet the requirements to renew that license. The admin licenses, what I like to do is work with people to try to figure out how we can get them on the same cycle. So if you have a 2-year admin license, we need to get it to a 5-year. To professionalize an administrative license, you have to have 5 years of administrative experience, and you have to have 60 hours of graduate coursework. So there's additional coursework that you have to do. So most people just keep that as a 5-year and then professionalize their instructional license to get a 10-year. You can use the same professional growth plan for both of those licenses, but it will be 2 applications because it's administrative and instructional. So when you're ready to do that, when your professional growth plan gets approved, or when you complete coursework, then and you can send that to the university, you'd select the university for that. Did that answer your question? Okay. Another question, or that was a yes? I don't have the comments open, so.
Oh, okay, we have another question.
Okay.
You have to be employed as a teacher in Indiana to keep your license updated, or are you able to just meet the PGP qualifications if you're staying home with children for a few years?
Yeah, so there are lots of people that do that. There are a lot of folks that stay home, their license lapses. The question becomes, what type of license do you have, to figure out what we have to do to renew it. So if it's a 2-year license, maybe you just need a CPR card, a valid CPR card. If it's the 5-year license, you need to do the professional growth plan or take 6 hours of coursework, or a combination where you could do 45 of the professional growth plan points and then 3-hour course. So that would give you the full 90 hours in a professional growth plan doing so. So get that submitted and approved, and then you can renew your license. So it's pretty simple. Like I said, there are no penalties in Indiana for letting a license lapse. Illinois, you let a license lapse, it's $500. We don't have that here. Okay, so I'm going to look. Now I'm just going to go with our PGP has been approved, and we're ready to do an application. As you can tell, applications are up here at the top, completely separate from professional growth plan points, and we can get into those at any point. So I'm going to click on Add Application. And that is basically what you look at when you sign up or when you log into your LVIS account, with a little bit of further information down below. So if you want to be an Indiana teacher, so you've gotten a teaching license and want to be an administrator, you would click the red box. If you are just renewing and processing your Indiana teaching license, you're going to click the green box. I am in Indiana. And you can see there's renew a license. So we can click on that. for instructional and licenses there. There's add content areas. So you can add content areas only to career specialists, to instructional licenses. School services can add an IPE and a workplace specialist. You cannot add an administrative license to an instructional license. They're two separate license areas. And then you can professionalize and renew, and it's going to ask you, and that can happen for all areas. You can renew and add at the same time. So if you take a content area test and want to add a content area to your license, you certainly can do that. There are 6 critical areas that you cannot add by testing alone, and that's elementary, early childhood, teachers of English learners, exceptional needs, fine arts, and high ability. Those 6 areas require coursework, and just don't want to say coursework, require a program and testing. A conversion is what someone would do to a 2-year license. If someone has a 2-year license and they want to convert and add, and of course we have emergency permits. Went too far. Well, okay, so let's go ahead and click conversion. And then a current Indiana instructor. And I'm going to convert my instructional IP license with a PGP. And this is where we go back to, this is what LVIS looked like originally. Okay, somebody's.
Another question.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Oh, I have to scroll down here. Sorry, my chat is.
That's okay. Mine was doing wonky things and won't let me scroll, so I kind of shut it off.
Yeah, that's what mine's doing.
Yeah.
Would you mind unmuting yourself and just asking directly? If you're able.
So if I have a mild intervention license.
Okay.
If I wanted to add the moderate to severe, would I need to go through programming still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mild is mild and moderate. Intense intervention. So now we're under REPA rules, and REPA doesn't categorize but 4 different ways in special education at this point. We have mild intervention, we have intense intervention, we have deaf and hard of hearing, and blind and low vision. Now, what rules basis were you is your license under? Do you know?
Let's see. I was licensed in
46, 47.
I would have. Yeah, I think so, because I was licensed in 2016.
So you would be under REPA, so you should have a mild interventions license.
Okay.
2016 is either REPA or REPA. I believe it was REPA. We didn't start doing REPA 3 until 2019. So I think you should be under REPA. I'm going to give you my contact information. If you want to talk about what you can teach, I'll walk you through the assignment code tomorrow. Feel free to give me a call.
Okay.
I start as early as 7, so tomorrow morning at 7 I'll be on. So you can call if you want to chat tomorrow morning. I'll be happy to help. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to show you this because I do have an approved PGP. So one thing to convert a 2-year license, those folks have to have 2 years of full-time teaching experience, and we'll see that here in a second. When your PGP is in approved status, it says your PGP is in approved status, and you can go on and complete this application. You have questions that you have to answer with every application. That's the 3rd bullet each time. If you answer any of these as yes, and you must be forthright, we have revoked licenses for folks that are not forthright. You will be asked to upload additional documentation. Just provide that information. It goes to our director for review, and she'll review it and typically move it on or ask for additional documentation if necessary. And then click next. And this is where you upload your CPR card typically, but because mine was filed in the documents, it's not asking me for that. So as long as the CPR card is valid, I won't be asked to upload my CPR card because it's valid. Once your CPR or your suicide prevention is filed, you'll never be asked for that again, even on any original application. So it's kind of helpful to have that information there. You'll choose your file by clicking that. Sometimes it says choose file, sometimes it says upload documents. So you'll choose your file and move on from there. And then when you click next, as long as everything is uploaded, then you can submit your application. Let me go back here. Let me show you. If you click save for later, it puts my application in process. I have 45 days from today because I started an application. Once you start an application, 45 days is all you have. Your professional growth plan's still hanging out over here for 5 years. But that application, 45 days and we close it if you don't get it submitted and paid for. That's not a problem. You just go back up here to add application, you walk back through it, and you provide your information that you're missing. Sometimes that's an approved PGP. So anytime you want to see where your applications are, click application status, and that brings you to a screen like this. I'm going to go back here and edit this application. I'm going to dump something into it by clicking the 4th bullet, choosing my file. And it's going to upload any document at this particular time. I'm going to click next. This application, even when I submit it, is not done. So if I go back to application status, it's now pending payment. It still will close out in 45 days unless you pay for it. So you click pay pending application. You click the box that says pay, and anything with a red star over here on the side, you have to fill out. You'll be able to click review summary and submit and pay for it. I see a question.
My question is, for the PGP, is there a time limit? Like, for instance, someone's license who's due in the spring. Could we go ahead and submit our PGG, get that taken care of, and then go ahead 45 days before our license is due, or say 15 or 20 days, whatever, and have that all ready to go in case you're running a little behind because we don't know what.
We don't know. You're right.
Right.
So yeah, submit that professional growth plan and have that ready. That can just sit there. Like I said, it's going to be valid for 5 years waiting for you to do an application. And then once you get the application submitted and paid for, then that PGP kind of attaches your license to the professional growth plan and you'll not be able to utilize it again for that specific license. You can utilize it again for another type of license, but not for that.
So what if your PGP is expired? Do I have to redo everything? How do I get that information? Because mine actually expired. I didn't know there was an expiration.
Call me tomorrow, or or send me an email, or I'll take a look and see what I can find out and figure out, and we'll go from there. I can at the department, I can always put it back in process. You can resubmit it, possibly. We can maybe do that. I'll talk to some of the folks at the office tomorrow to find out what we typically will do. I'll be honest, I'm not real sure what we typically do. It doesn't happen often. So it's not that big. It's not that big a deal though. You don't have to like go back out and get more PGP. Unless the PGP stuff that you've done isn't between the issue date of your license and when you're renewing.
It's
That's the
always
other
2 years.
It's within the last 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes folks do the wrong professional growth plan. So if you choose the wrong one and submit it, and it gets approved, but we needed, instead of the 40-point PGP, we needed the 90. We can change that, but then you'd have to add a few more points to it. So we certainly can work with you.
There's another question.
Uh-huh.
I want my license to always expire in June like it is now. So when should I do my applications for renewal?
We suggest applications be completed 45 days prior to the expiration. June is our busy time. There are no penalties in licensing if it expires. We don't penalize you. You just have to make sure that you meet the requirements and get them submitted and paid for us to renew them. The other thing that I want to tell you kind of helpful. You can kind of get an extra year out of licensure. If the license that you have is valid on the first day of school, then and your license expires the next day or even a month later during that school year, it expires, then your license is considered valid through the entire school year. The date you pay for the license will be the issue date of your license, and it will expire 2, 5, or 10 years later. Or a reciprocal would be 1, or a transition to teaching would be 3. Yeah, so depending, but most of you have a 2, 5, or 10-year license. So the date you pay is going to be the issue date of your license, and the expiration date will be 2, 5, or 10 years later. Okay. And if it's valid on the first day of school, it's considered valid through the entire school year. That helped out several teachers during the COVID crisis. We had the governor's executive order took any license that expired between March 1st, I think, I'm not sure the issue date, through August 31st, and gave them an expiration date of September 1. He just extended all of those licenses. So if your license expired during that time period, then your license is considered valid until September 1st. I believe every school in Indiana started school prior to September 1. So their license was considered valid through this 2021 school year. So they got an extra year out of their license. They didn't have to meet all the requirements. They didn't have to jump through the hoops and try to get their CPR cards renewed. And there were some provisions for CPR, but the online was not one of the provisions, not a total online CPR card. Okay. Any other questions that you may have in regards to applications or?
Before you log off, can you put it back on that slide for your contact
I
information?
absolutely would be happy to. Let me
Thank
go
you.
back.
I'm sorry to ask.
No, not a problem. There's my contact information. That is my direct dial. The only day that I will not answer the phone is Wednesdays because I'm working on out-of-state evaluations pretty much all day. And so I try to just put my phone into voicemail. But if you want to call and talk to someone in licensing, call. If you don't get me, I may be on the phone with someone. I do try to get people to hold, and I'll answer another call and put you on hold until I can get done with the first call. But certainly feel free to give me a call and chat if there's ever any questions, or if you have someone in your school building that might have some licensure questions, I'd be happy to answer that as well.
Okay. So I just want to clarify one last thing, not just for me, but maybe for everybody.
Sure.
So it sounds like you don't want us to submit it till 45 days before, but is there anything bad about submitting it early if we know that you're not as busy that time of year?
Yeah.
Or
well, so if you do it anytime before then, so I have a person who's doing an addition. They paid for the addition. They're doing a Montessori addition to their elementary license. Their license expires in March. I don't mind doing it, but so they're spending $35 right now to do the addition, when in March, February, they have to do another application. So I made a phone call to the applicant today to see if they really want to do that. The date that we issue the license is going to be the issue date. If your license doesn't expire for 6 more months, you're losing that time on that license. That's what we don't want to happen. We don't post date it. We don't date it from the date that your license is going to expire on. It's the date you pay is going to be the issue date of your license. So, if you apply to professionalize or renew before that 45 days, then you're possibly losing time on that license.
okay. And the reason I was asking is because our school district wants everyone to have it submitted to know where they stand on 1 April for rehiring the next year.
And we do understand that. But your license is considered valid through the entire school year.
And that's
what they're looking at jobs for the next year and offering contracts. We understand that. So if you're required to do so, I don't know if you noticed, let me flip back over here real quick to application status. Let me edit this here real quick. and go to bullet 4, because that's where application documents are uploaded. There is an additional document. Did that go away? Can you guys see that?
It's going, there it is, it's back.
Okay. I don't know. I have my hands off, and it went over. My apologies. I don't know what my computer's doing. So there's a place for you to upload additional documents. If you are going to be renewing or professionalize because your school is wanting you to do that, your expiration date and issue date is going to change. But just upload a Word document that says, I want to renew this prior, more than 45 days ahead of time. And that's okay. As long as we know that you understand that you're losing time on your license, we'll do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, at schools, the other thing is schools want you to apply early if your license is going to expire, especially during the summer. And they want your license issued to you. We have 8 people in our office. They are the best 8 people that I have ever worked with. I've been back in licensing for 8 years. And, we are a well-oiled machine. We work well together. We enjoy each other. We laugh, and we work hard. And when we start getting phone calls in July, where's my license? We're getting it. We're working on it. If we're doing phone calls, we're not doing the processing of licenses. If we're doing emails, same thing. It's a wicked couple of months, but we all really enjoy and appreciate our jobs and are glad to help all of you teachers out.
Okay, we have another question.
Okay.
My license expires June 11th. Should I wait and pay on June 10th, or is that too close to applying?
It's completely up to you. If you want to wait until June 10th, you certainly can. It'll take us a bit in June to get that processed. So, some things to keep in mind. Check application status. Check the professional growth plan. Make sure that the application that you have processed or submitted is processed, and is in, it says that it's in DOE material review. If you're doing it with a PGP, if you're not renewing with coursework from a university, when you submit 6 hours of coursework and go through a university, that application routes to the university. That would say advisor material review under application status, meaning that university licensing advisor will be processing your license and we won't see it. Professional growth plan applications, professionalizations, those all route through our office and would say DOE material review. Does that help? All right. And then there's my table tent again. Anyone else? I want to thank you all very much for participating and letting me offer, advice or help with your licenses. Like I said, feel free. My phone number there, 232-9007. I'd be the secret agent of the Department of Education in the licensing office. So